Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today I'm here broadcasting from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm glad to be here to present to you this beautiful lady. She's going to introduce herself to you, but she has a sad story that I wanted you to hear. And then at the end, I want you, my followers, I would like to help this lady because she's a mother, she's a single mother, and she's trying to have a life for her kids and herself. So I believe that you, my followers, can do something to change a life for this lady. She's an African. Most of you who follow me are Africans. So if you are out there and you feel that you are touched by her story, please help. Don't judge, because the judgment is for God. Everyone has his or her own story. She was deported from America because of the reason she's going to tell us in this interview. But before we go to the details, please do me a favor, subscribe to this channel, share this story with your friends, and like this video. Without delaying, let me welcome Mercy. Mercy,
Yes.
welcome to this YouTube channel.
Thank you so much.
Please introduce yourself to our viewers.
So, hello, my name is Mercy and I am from Kenya. And I can say that I am a singer, songwriter, author, and mother. I come from Siaya County, but I currently live in Nairobi, Kenya. And I am honored to be in this channel. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Mercy, for accepting this request for this interview. Please tell us about your background as a Kenyan young lady. How does your background look like?
Okay, so I was born and raised in an African village, like many of us Africans. I come from a village called Kabura Sihai. Kabura Sihai village is in Siaya County in Kenya. And I was born to my dad, who was a teacher. He was a man who was much, much older than my mother, almost 40 years older than my mother. So I come from a polygamous family. By the time that my mother was getting married to my dad, he was already married with 10 kids. So, you know, traditionally in African marriages, they used to like force marriages. The story that I was told was that after my father identified my mom as a young girl, who then was about 13 or 14 years old, that he wanted to marry, that the arrangements were made without her knowledge, the dowry was paid without her knowledge, and she just got ambushed, she just got tied with ropes, and she was forced to marry my dad. So to my mother, I was her eighth born. She had again 10 kids.
Oh, 10 kids.
Yes. So nobody knows exactly how many kids my father had, because I'm told that prior to marrying my mother, he had already married several women that apparently could not stay because the first wife of my father supposedly was so evil. So when my mother came, she was able to stay. I was raised up in this polygamous home, and it was crazy because the village was so peaceful, so beautiful. Like in the village, we had one of the best homes that you can describe. Our home was very big, with a very big compound, and the village was beautiful. We got water from the river. But yet, inside this beautiful home, there was always a lot of tension in the polygamous family between my mother and my stepmother. And so growing up in the polygamous family was Interesting and challenging.
Mm.
Yeah, challenging because I always wanted a way out to escape since I was a kid. I hated how my mother was being treated. Small things like, in the polygamous family, in the African traditions, they divide the land. So even despite the fact that my father had divided the land, my stepmother still went to dig our land, to put her cattle in our land, to eat all our crops. And there were always constant quarrels, to which my father turned a deaf ear. But I can't really blame my father because he was in a very tricky situation. My father was in a situation where by the time that his children were being born by my mother, he was already retired. So he needed my step-siblings to pay school fees for my real siblings.
Oh.
So he was like, he was in a situation where he can't really talk because he wants his children to go to school. He really valued education. So the fight was always like on, especially every weekend. We knew after church, we were Seventh-day Adventists, so we knew that after church, there was always a fight because the cows went to eat our crops. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how did you end up in America?
So like I said, my American story began from that tiny village. There was always mockery, like my stepmother making fun of my real mother, saying, all your children are going to America. She would always ridicule my mother and say that, and none of my siblings had ever gone to America. So from being a small child, I always said, I will be the first one to go to this America that they keep mocking my mother about. So growing up, I always wanted to go to America. So it took many years of dreaming to finally leave the village temporarily to go to high school, which was a boarding school. And then it was during my years in a boarding school that my mother died. I believe she fell into a depression and got paralyzed by stroke, and she died when I was in high school. After my mother died, I went and buried my mom, and then I decided that I no longer wanted to be there in the village. So I was adopted, in quotes, by my real brother, who then was only about 23 years old. He was a theology student at University of Eastern Africa, Baraton, which is located in Eldoret. And he promised that I will never have to go back to the village again. So the day that I completed high school, I went to Eldoret to live with my brother, who was also a student. Just 2 months down the line, my brother died.
Oh.
Very suddenly, unexpectedly, and mysteriously. And many things were said that my stepfamily was directly involved in his death. Yeah, there are more details to this, but it was after my brother's death that the American story began to come real. So yes, my brother said like he had headache and he was taken to Elgon View Hospital in Eldoret. And the last people that saw him was my stepbrother and his wife, who was a nurse at the same hospital. But after he passed on, the lecturers at the University of Eastern Africa, Baraton, felt so bad for me because now it was like my brother was my mother and my father. He had adopted me.
Yeah.
I had just finished high school. The results were not even out yet. So they insisted that I should come back to the university to be enrolled after the results came out. And my family was very scared. Yeah, more details about this story is documented in my first book. So my family was very scared for me to go back to Baraton, but they offered me like a full scholarship. The vice chancellor at the university at the time, his name was Professor Mutuku Mutinga. So he said I can go there to school for free Baraton is very expensive. It's a very expensive private university in Kenya. So when I went there, I was attending like 2 semesters, and then one of my late brother's best friends went to America. And his name was Pastor Peter Kosgei. So before he left, he told me that I promise that I will bring you to America. Like no matter what it's gonna take, I will bring you to America. I was so amazed because he kept his promise. As soon as he went to America, he's still in America, by the way. As soon as he went to America, he kept in touch with me through his wife. He was married with 2 children at the time. So he would always send messages to his wife, and I would send messages to him through his wife.
His wife was here?
Yeah, his wife was still in Kenya, in Eldoret. So he would always like, tell Mercy I will make sure that she comes to America. And the wife will come and say, Pastor Kosgei talked to me today. The pastor said that he will make sure you come to America. And then I will be like, please tell Pastor Kosgei, I just want out as soon as possible. I want, even if I have to go to America to become a maid, to work for somebody as a maid, do their housework.
And you were at the university by then?
I was at the university, but I still wanted out of Kenya.
Yeah.
So then the Kosgei's wife would communicate and say, Mercy said even if she has to go like a maid, she can go. And then Pastor Kosgei would tell Mercy that God did not create her to become a maid, that God has better plans for her. So we would continue back and forth, communicating through his wife. And then at one point, he sent application forms to his wife for a college named Wichita Hills College, which is located in Amity, Arkansas. And the wife gave me the applications. I remember I had to make copies. I didn't even have like photocopy then was like 1 shilling. I didn't even have 1 shilling for photocopies. I made copies. I somehow got the copies. And then the wife spent her own money to send the application forms. And then I forgot about it. And then after some time, I was called and I was told that, oh, you got admission to an American college. And that was like the happiest day of my life. I was so happy because the admission letter stated that I have a full scholarship. Everything will be paid for, including my full tuition, my housing, my food, everything. And I only had to pay for my plane ticket to America. So I remember...
that was which year?
This was in 2005.
2005.
Yes, 2005. At the beginning of 2005.
Yes.
Yes. So I began the process. So I remember that I left Eldoret to go to Nairobi. And when I got to Nairobi, it was like my second time in Nairobi since I had been born. I had gone there first to sing, and this was the second time I was going to Nairobi. I had no place to stay in Nairobi. So I remember calling somebody named Olio Dipo, who was from my village. He was a student at Nairobi University at the time, and he said I could live with him in the dormitory. So during the time I was processing to go to America, I was living inside a men's dormitory in Nairobi University main campus. Oli was like, we were in survival mode. The day we ate ugali with mala, that was like a win, like a big day. Or the day we got eggs. Yeah. We survived on what we call sukuma wiki in Kenya, which is kale. I was just wandering around because I had this admission letter to go to America. I have no money for passport. I have no passport. I have no visa. Like I have, I just have, the only thing I have was the admission.
Admission, yeah.
Yes. So I then, one day went to Foreign Affairs Ministry's office. I don't know how I got there. I don't remember, but I was very lucky because when I got there, I found the secretary. And the secretary was kind enough to let me see the Foreign Affairs Minister myself. So this just taught me a lesson against, like, don't ever discriminate against anybody because of their position, and also don't, if you're a woman holding an office somewhere, just, you know, if it was not for the secretary, I would have never seen the minister.
The minister, yeah.
Yes. So she had my story. She took me to the minister's office. And the minister had my story. You know, the government then was so different from the government now. And I don't remember the foreign affairs minister's name, but I only remember that he was from the Luo tribe. So he listened to me and he said he's gonna help me. I don't know if like politicians can still help young kids like I was helped.
Yeah.
So he held my hands and he took me to Nyayo House. Nyayo House is where we process passports. On that same day, he filled in the application just asking me. He like literally took the application for passport. He filled them in by his own hands. He wrote a recommendation letter. He stamped it. He took a photo of me. He took me somewhere. I took a passport photo. And he told me to go home and come back tomorrow.
The minister himself?
The minister himself.
Wow.
Yes, that was crazy. I don't know if it can still happen today. Because now it just seems like our politics is just crazy.
Yeah.
So the next day when I went to the office, my passport was ready. So my passport literally took less than 24 hours to process. So during this time, I just like saw the hand of God. I was like, it is God's will that I finally go to America. I have dreamt about it since I was a kid. And I got my passport. And so the next process was to go for visa interview in Nairobi. And I still had no money. Like, I didn't even have like bus fare to take me to the embassy to do an interview. So they tried to book an appointment online, but everything was fully booked. Like up to the last day that I was supposed to report, it was fully booked.
At the embassy?
So, yes, at the American embassy in Nairobi. So this time the minister gave me his personal assistant, and I remember that his name was Isaiah Otieno. And Isaiah Otieno held my hand like he would hold his own sister. He almost reminded me of my late brother Vin, because Vincent really loved me so much. He held my hands. He was a very young man at the time. I can say maybe he was in his 20s. He was very young.
Okay.
So he held my hands and took me to Gigiri, to American embassy. And when we got to the gate, I remember the watchman saying, "Mkubwa, mheshimiwa," like, you know.
He was telling this young man.
Yes, I was like, damn, they know this guy is mheshimiwa. So we went all the way to the American embassy. And of course, I found, in the American embassy, they had 6 windows at the time. I don't know what it looks like right now. And a whole bunch of Kenyans tried to go to America. So I sat there and waited to be called. When Isaiah got in the embassy, he took my paperwork directly to window 1. And he had a brief conversation with them. And then he left my paperwork with them. And then he called me out. He left, and then he came back, and he called me outside the embassy again. And he was like, "They're going to ask you how you got this scholarship. What are you going to say?" And I said, "I will say my late brother's friend went to America." No. He said, "Don't tell those people that you know anybody in America." So he asked me again, "What are you going to tell them? How did you get the scholarship?" And I was like, "I will tell them I got the scholarship online." Don't ever mention online. Don't ever tell Americans that you got, right now online is more, but in 2005, online was not like that serious.
It was not common.
It was not common. Like how you get a scholarship online.
Yeah.
So he said, think of something else and think very fast. So I told Isaiah, well, I am a student at Baraton University. It is a Seventh-day Adventist institution, and the university in America is also Seventh-day Adventist institution. So I will tell them that this SDA school in America advertised scholarships in our SDA school in Kenya. And he said, perfect. If they don't give you a visa, call me. And Isaiah was gone like that. So I sat there and heard how the people were being interviewed. I was amazed. Some white people could speak Swahili very fluently. That was crazy. And I waited for my turn. I noticed that there was all Wazungus or all white men, window 1 to window 5. And then window 6 had an African-American lady. And it seemed like the Wazungu men, they were nicer. They were issuing some visas. But like the African American lady was not issuing any visa. Like he was denied. So I was praying, God, please don't let me go to window 6. Please, God, don't let me go to window 6.
Yeah.
Then I had my name, Marcelino Nyango, window 6. I was like, oh no.
So you went there.
I just went there just knowing, okay, I'm not going to get this visa.
Yeah.
But when I got to the window, I looked at that lady directly in her eyes and I smiled very big. And I said, hello, madam, how are you today? And she was so taken aback by my confidence.
Yeah.
And she looked at me like, who is this? So she said, just a moment, I'll be right with you. And I said, no problem, madam. So, the first question that she asked, how did you get this scholarship? Which is the same question that I had practiced outside with Isaiah.
Yeah.
How did you get this scholarship? And I told her, I am a student at University of Eastern Africa, Baraton, and the university I'm going to in America is SDA, like the one in Eldoret, and they advertised scholarships there. Many students applied, but they only chose 3 of us. And she was like, okay. Then she asked me several questions, wanting to know if I will come back after I finish my education. So the thing that made her to give me a visa was when I said, I have a spirit that never gives up. Because she was telling me, everybody wants a visa to America. Why should I give you and not everybody else? And I said, Madam, when I was in high school, my mother passed away. And I did not give up. I went and I completed my high school. I went, buried my mother, completed high school, and then even despite any challenges I might face, I will not give up. I promise you this. So she nodded her head, and she was like, what are you going to do after you graduate? And then I'm going to come back to Kenya. I'm going to open somewhere. The course I was going to do was guidance and counseling. So she said, congratulations, you've been awarded a visa to the United States of America. And I began to jump and scream. You know, I'm the type of person that gets really excited. Yeah. So I was like, wah! Screaming and jumping and running. And everybody in the embassy was like, oh, msichana amepata visa. The girl got a visa. Msichana amepata. Yeah. She called me, come back. I was like, oh no, she's going to take it away. And then she just said, come back after 3 days to pick up your visa. So I was just that happy. That day I was so happy. I was jumping, like my dreams were going to come true. It was going to be the end of all problems in the world. I was so excited. Like, there will be no more death, no more sorrow, no more. Like, I just felt like, hey, my life is going to be happy. I'm going to take my whole family to America. Yeah. I was so happy. I'm going to marry a Muzungu. And when I say Muzungu, I mean white man. I was going to heaven. I was running, like that day I couldn't even walk. I was running everywhere, just excited. Even the watchmen at the embassy gate, they were like, hey, Chana, hey, young girl, you got a visa, amepata visa. That was what they were shouting, and I was just running. I was so happy. So I went, I called Isaiah. I didn't have a phone, so I got a phone, I called Isaiah, and I said, Isaiah, I got a visa. He was like, I already knew you were going to get a visa, so it is no surprise to me. So now the next challenge was the air ticket. Remember, I'm a broke that. Yeah. Now I got the passport for free. I got the visa for free. I never even paid any visa fee. The Minister of Foreign Affairs covered all the visa fee for me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that was crazy. So now I went back again to their office. Like, now I need money for plane ticket. Yeah. And he was like, okay, for this we're going to have to have a fundraising. Yeah. We're going to have a fundraising. It takes time to organize a fundraising. I don't think you have enough time to organize a fundraising because I had maybe like a week or two before my deadline. So he said, keep looking at other options, and I will look into what I can do as well. I started running around the country, like calling everybody, calling the lecturers at Baraton, calling my sister, I was stressing out everybody. Yeah, you can just imagine the tension, yeah? So I was stressing out everybody. I even used to have like a boyfriend.
How old were you by that time?
I was just 18. I was 18. I just finished high
That's a
school.
young girl.
Yes. So I had a boyfriend who is also a student at Kikuyu, at Nairobi University Kikuyu campus. I was like, Eric, I got a visa. And he came to meet me in Uhuru Park, yeah? He was crying. He was like, Mercy, I wish I had money. He was shedding tears. I wish I had money, I would pay for your flight ticket because I know if you go to America, you are going to bring me there.
So he had the hopes in you.
Yes. He said, but I have my brother, Bena. I knew his brother. I'm going to talk to Bena, even if he can take a loan. Yeah, we need to get you there. We need to get you to America. So there seemed to be no hope. My older brother was like also looking to get a loan. Everybody was looking to get a loan. And this is something that is always so stressful, you know, to Africans in general, to immigrants, yeah? The cost of, you know, relocating to another country is so expensive. And many times, people have to take loans, people have to sell their land, people have to sell their cars, people have to sell, like literally, by the time you are leaving, you are leaving people with nothing, people at home. So this is something that, you know, we need to take big notice of, that the whole process is so expensive. I'm one of the few lucky ones who got most of the fee covered by the Foreign Affairs Minister. But otherwise, like for normal people, it takes a lot of money. Yes, a lot of money, and it drains literally the family, the friends. It has to be a fundraising. So anyway, moving forward, I ended up at Higher Education Loans Board. Higher Education Loans Board is a body in Kenya that funds university education. I was already getting a loan from them, yeah, while going at Baraton. So they already had me in their database. So I went there and I told them my story. I met somebody named Mr. Ndegwa, and he told me that they don't give loans if you are going to study outside the country. They only give loans if you are studying in Kenya. Yes. So for some reason, I refused to leave his office. I began to cry. I was like, I don't have any other way. Like, you have to find a way to help me. Like, I don't know anybody else who's going to help me.
Yeah.
So he told me to sit down outside his office. That time, people were so nice. Can you imagine right now you are crying in somebody's office? They will call security to manhandle you. Yeah, they will throw you out.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was God's favor, but people were so kind. He told me to sit there. So I sat there almost the whole day. I think he was trying to think of what he can do to help me. Eventually, he came out of his office and he told me that he works with a very beautiful, kind-hearted lady. And she also went to Baraton University, where I am currently studying. And he said, I can talk to her, and if she's willing, maybe she can talk to her husband. Her husband is a pastor. Maybe the church can help. I said, please, anything you can do just to help me. So after some time, he introduced me to a lady named Mrs. Ayonga, Alice Ayonga. And she came, had this beautiful big smile, yeah? A lady from Kisii County.
Yeah.
And she didn't look at my tribe. She didn't look at anything else. She just saw me and she saw like a child of God. So when she saw me, she had a big smile. She gave me a very big, warm hug. And she told me to tell her what was going on. So I told her the whole story. I showed her my passport, my visa. And it was on a Friday. So she said, I want to invite you to our church tomorrow. So that is how she left. She didn't tell me much. She said, come to our church tomorrow. So the next day, I went to their church in Nairobi. I don't remember the name of the church. Some people have said it was Maxwell SDA Church, but I don't remember the name of that church, to be sure. And that was the day that I met her husband, who was a pastor. And then he was very kind and very nice to me, and he lifted me, like he brought me to the altar. He told the church my story. And he said, let's bow down and pray. And he prayed like a very powerful prayer. And everybody in church was crying. Just saying, God, you are the God of orphans. Don't abandon this young girl. She needs to go to America to study. Very long, powerful prayer. After prayers, he asked me if it was okay if I could leave my passport with him and the visa. So I left with him, and then he said to come back to the wife's office on Monday. On Monday, I went there. I went to their office, and they told me that you are flying to America today, just like that.
Wow.
So they gave me a long list of everybody who had contributed money for my flight, and I can imagine that that money was a lot of sacrifice from the people from church. Some people contributed 5,000 shillings, some people contributed 10,000, 20,000, 1,000. The flight ticket to America was going to cost about 1,000 US dollars. So yes, it was a lot of money. They had already booked my flight, and I was flying on that day. I went to their office. I was not carrying any luggage. I had no clothes. I just had nothing. I found that the church people had already donated for me some clothes.
Oh.
So I wore those clothes, and we were driving to the airport. Accompanying me was my best friend from Eldoret and my younger sister. I remember when I got to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, I had only like a small purse, maybe something of this size.
Yeah. Only
That is all, yeah. That is all I was carrying to America. So at the airport, they were really disturbing me. Like, how are you going to America? Where is your luggage? Where is your towel? You're going to study? Yeah, where is your slippers? How are you going to shower? Like, where is your luggage?
Yeah.
And they were not going to let me board an aeroplane until Pastor Ayonga went inside the airport. You know, they usually leave people outside.
Yeah.
So Pastor Ayonga was watching me through the glass window, and he saw that they were not letting me pass. When he went inside, they were like, "Oh, Pastor, it is you."
So they know him.
Like Africans, we can be so pretentious.
Yeah.
Like they were just really being mean to me. And then when they see the pastor and said, things changed suddenly. Pastor! Pastor, so good to see you.
Yeah.
And pastor was like, this is my daughter and she's traveling. She has money to buy everything when she gets there. Okay, you can just pass.
Wow.
So I learned also the power of if you have money and power, it is very different than if you're poor. So that is how I boarded Fly Emirates, going to America, and I had to stop in Dubai. I remember the moment I got in the aeroplane. It was my first time inside the aeroplane. I was so excited. I just felt like I'm going to heaven. I felt like I'm going to heaven, like this is it, if you know what I mean. I was smiling from ear to ear. I didn't know how to operate anything. I didn't know, like, the flight attendants knew I was flying for the first time, so they were so nice. I thought they were so beautiful. You know, they were wearing makeup. I didn't know anything that exists as makeup. So I was like, wow, like, how are these ladies so beautiful? They were very nice. They helped me to put on a movie with my own headphones. I have my own TV finally. So yeah, flying for the first time is always very, very, very interesting. And for me, I was flying to America, first flight. So that was really huge. Pastor Yonga told me to make sure that I eat anything they offer me in the aeroplane. So as we were leaving Nairobi, Kenya, heading to Dubai, they gave me some Arab food, things I had never seen in my life before. And that was where the culture shock began. Everything they gave me was so unfamiliar. So unfamiliar. I was like, what is this? Like, I don't remember what food, but it was Arab food. So, I don't know if I ate or I didn't eat, but eventually we landed in Dubai. It was so much fun, like being up there in the air. They're announcing, we are now crossing the Red Sea. We are now crossing the Indian Ocean. I was still like, wow. We got to Dubai. I took another flight to London in the UK. And it was a long flight. I was sleeping, waking up. And then eventually we took the last flight going to America. I was going to land in Houston, Texas, and that was it. So eventually I was heading to Houston, Texas, and as we were almost landing in Houston, Texas, the excitement got even up there. Somebody was in the aeroplane announcing, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are now landing in the United States of America." I wanted to jump off of my seat. I was like, "United States of America!" Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what. They're announcing their things.
Yeah.
And finally, we landed in Houston, Texas. And that was where we were supposed to get the I-94, the paper for admission, to get admitted officially into the United States, yes, of America. So, going through the immigration process was also where another problem came up. Because as I was going through immigration problems, they noticed that my paperwork was reading Griggs University in Silver Spring, Maryland. So Maryland is very, very far away from Arkansas, which was my
state.
Yeah. So they were like, what are you going to do in Maryland? What are you going to do in Arkansas? And your paperwork is reading Maryland. So I was put on immigration detention for hours. Hours and hours and hours and hours. I did not know how to explain it because I was also confused.
Because it was also your first time.
Yes, it was my first time. So I didn't even understand the states, the relationship.
Yeah.
So I remember that was the first time that I came into contact with an African American. You know, African Americans are people I had never heard of before. I had never seen an African American in Kenya before. I had never communicated with them. So I remember there was an African American who helped me to pass through immigration. He was an immigration official, and he called me like, "You've been sitting here for a while, come on here, what's wrong?" And I told her my paperwork, and he said, "Explain it to me." And I just said, I think the main university is in Maryland, but I'm going to a branch in Arkansas." And he just stamped my paperwork and let me go. By the time I got to the next flight, my flight had already left. So they just said they will put me in the next flight. It is never a problem when you're flying internationally.
Okay.
So they said they will put me on the next flight. So they did. And eventually I landed in Little Rock, Arkansas. So you don't say Arkansas. You know, the people that, when I was in Kenya, I was reading, I'm going to Arkansas.
Yeah.
But no, it's Arkansas. And I've even heard that they can jail you for pronouncing their state wrongly.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God. So you have to practice.
Arkansas, yeah. So when I finally landed in Arkansas, I almost fainted. I almost passed out by the shock.
Okay.
The biggest shock was the dressing code. It was summertime. I arrived in America on May 25th, so it was summertime. So everybody was literally wearing shorts and tank tops.
Very short.
Very short shorts. And even the old women, like even the shoshos, yeah?
And you're a girl from the village.
From the village. So to me, I thought like everybody in America is walking naked.
Naked, yeah.
So I condemned them in Jesus' name. I was like, these people will burn in hell. Like, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, with my Bible verses, I was quoting my Bible verse. I was like, this is not possible. How is everybody in America walking naked? How is it possible?
You're cursing them.
I was cursing them and saying they will go to fire.
Yeah.
They will burn with the devil for dressing like that. When I got to the airport, the person who was supposed to pick me up had already come and left. So he had assumed I was not flying on that day because I had been delayed by immigration in Houston, Texas. So I was very confused at the airport. I didn't know where to go, how to start, who to call. I was just standing there. I didn't know what to do. I was standing there for very few minutes when an African American woman, very big, with a broad smile, she came to me. She said, "Hi, baby." I was like, what? Did she just call me? You know, in Kenya, you call baby somebody who is your lover, you know?
Yeah.
So,
In America, it's normal.
yeah. So I was shocked, like, what? I looked at her like, please don't call me baby. And she said,
Yeah.
how are you, sweetheart? And now I was like, no. I said, excuse me, madam, I am not your sweetheart. Then she said, it's all right, honey. I was like, so she's calling me this. She's a woman. I'm thinking maybe she wants to sleep with me. Like, why? Why is she calling me baby? She's a woman. Yeah, so she's calling me baby, honey, sweetheart. I was not used to those names.
Not maybe she's a lesbian.
Yeah, I thought she's trying to have an affair with me. I was like, please, no.
Yeah.
So then she said, I've been seeing you here for a while. What's wrong? Where are you going?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like confused, I decided to talk to her. I was like, I'm going to school. You're going to school? Yes. Which school? I told her, Wichita Hills College. I've never heard of that school before.
Yeah.
She insisted on wanting to buy me hamburger. I was like, what in the world is hamburger?
Okay.
Like, baby, can I buy you pizza? I was like, pizza? What is pizza? Then she was like, do you want hot dog? Now I thought these people eat dogs.
Because you had never heard of hot dogs.
I had never heard of hot dogs, never heard of hamburgers, never heard of pizza.
Yeah.
So everything I was like, no, madam, please, do not buy for me anything, madam.
Yeah.
She's like, damn, baby, you just landed from a boat in Africa? I didn't understand why she was saying I landed from a boat.
Yeah.
And I was to understand later the history of African Americans, something that we are not taught in school in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
After going back and forth, I accepted to drink soda because that was the only thing I was familiar with. And I was shocked that soda at the airport was costing $5.
Wow.
$5 is like almost 500 and something shillings. And I left home when soda was only 15 shillings. So again, I was back to my Christianity. These people are robbers and thieves. They will never see heaven.
Yeah.
But she bought me, and then she was like, can I call the school we are going to? Do you have their phone number? I was like, I don't have any phone number. The thing is that I had the phone number, but I didn't know it's a phone number. Because, you know, in Kenya, all the numbers started with 070, 0707. So this thing was not starting with 07. I was like, that's not a phone number. So she was able to call them. They said they had waited for me at the airport for many hours, and I didn't show up when I was supposed to arrive. Yeah. No, the same day, but I had been delayed at the airport.
Yeah.
So they said because of that, they had left. And they said that the school is very far away from the airport. It is like 4 hours drive.
Oh.
Yes. So I literally spent with this lady in the airport another 8 hours.
Wow.
Waiting for the people to come pick me up. During that time, she told me that she loved me because I'm from Africa. In fact, she cried. She said, Africa is our motherland. That is the first time I heard the word motherland. I was like, what do you mean is your motherland? She started telling me about how they were taken from Africa, their great-grandparents. And it was interesting to hear, but I was like, okay. Anyway, eventually, the guy came to pick me up. He came with a big white van. Yeah. He was thinking I was carrying many big suitcases. But like I said, I just had a purse. Yeah. So he was also confused. He was like, excuse me, like, where's your bags? I was like, this is all I have. What? I got in the big van and we began the drive, leaving Little Rock, Arkansas airport and heading to Wichita Hills College. The drive was long and crazy and scary. The time difference was very confusing to me.
Yeah. Because
when I arrived in America, it was nighttime in America, but daytime in Kenya. As we continued to drive, it was very, very, very crazy, scary, and confusing. Because in my head, I had imagined that America is bigger than Nairobi. You know,
Yeah.
Nairobi is a big city.
Yeah.
So I had imagined I was going to see skyscrapers, like I was going to see big
Everywhere.
buildings, like a big city. But here I was going into a village, like my village where I grew up.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this America? Like Arkansas is like one of the most remote places in America. I thought maybe I was gonna get killed. Like, what is going on? I couldn't, I couldn't understand what was going on. At one point, we even left the tarmac road and we got into a Maram road, like road with no tarmac.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, where are we going to? After driving forever, you can imagine 4 hours.
4 hours.
Plus, if there's traffic, is more hours. So after driving forever, we eventually got to the school. When I got to the school, it was just 2 buildings. There was one building, which is the dormitory, and another building, which is the dining room. So I was like, okay, did I just get...
At the university?
Is it the university? Like, where's the classes? What is going on? So I thought maybe there's some buildings underground, maybe what's going on? So anyway, I got inside the dormitory, and there were bunk beds, and they didn't give me any food. I was
You were hungry.
Then they asked me if I want to take a shower, you know. I had come from the village. I'd never seen any American showers. I got inside the bathroom, and I started to turn around. The water is not coming out, twisting the water, pushing the water, beating the water. Water was not coming out. I was so frustrated. I was standing in the bathroom for like over 1 hour, and they had this big bathtub. It looked like a white coffin. I was like, these people are going to bury me here.
No, it's a coffin.
And then the bathroom, you know, I had never sat in a toilet before. It was just crazy change. When the toilet, I flushed, I thought it was going to swallow me. I was just like a real villager.
Yeah.
So one girl comes inside the shower. Mercy, are you okay? It's a white girl, Annalie. Are you okay? I'm like, I'm not okay. So she said, what? I said, there's no water. There's no water. You mean water? You want some water? So she just walked in. She pretended not to see me, and she pulled the water. Poof, and the water came. Eventually, I was able to shower. Crazy. After my shower, they thought I was going to sleep. But you know, I couldn't sleep because it was daytime in Kenya. So my head is programmed that it is daytime.
That time you are not supposed to sleep.
I'm not supposed to sleep.
Yeah.
So I stayed up the whole night. Those people are like, what is wrong with this girl? It was so crazy. The next day when they woke up, it's time for breakfast. Now I was trying to sleep because then it was now nighttime in Kenya.
Yeah.
But they took me to the dining room to meet again. Food I had never seen in my life before. We had to eat granola cereal with soy milk. Granola cereal looked like some insects to me. I was like, what?
I'm going to eat insects.
And then soy milk, I had never seen soy milk. Oh, it looked disgusting.
Yeah.
So there was another culture shock of the food. From the airport to babies, to the shower, to the bathroom, to now the food, to everything, to the accent. So anyway, I couldn't eat. The only thing I recognized was a banana. So I only ate one banana that day, and I left. Lunchtime, they were having soy meat. I don't know, it was the place I had gone to was a strictly vegan place.
Vegans, okay.
Yeah. So the first moment I got a chance, there was no Peter Kosgei, he was not there.
Yeah.
He called me later on, and he told me that he was no longer there, and he had moved to Minnesota. And he told me, the only advice I can give you, don't tell these white people your problems. They don't care. That is what he told me. Just go with the program. Pretend to be happy always, even when you're not happy. Don't try to be sad, and use it as a stepping stone. If it is time for you to leave, whatever.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. I was confused because, it seemed like there was not going to be any school at all. But I wasn't sure yet. We stayed in this place for about 2 weeks. And those 2 weeks, I had to do chores, like scrub the pot and pan, like big pots. I had never seen those so big pots in my life. So I was wondering, like, did they check the wrong person? Like, am I in the wrong school?
Exactly.
There was no classes anywhere. So I was like, what is going on? I continued to stay there. After about 2 weeks, they made a big announcement that we have to go somewhere. So the big white van that picked me from the airport, everybody got there. All the students in the whole school could fit in that van. We were very few, maybe very few.
Yeah.
So there was somebody from Mexico, there was a woman from Mongolia, there was somebody from Russia. We were just people from different poor countries.
Yeah.
And then there were a few Americans, like Annalie, there was David from America, and then Eugene Prewitt was the one heading the program. We drove from Amity, Arkansas to Wichita, Kansas. When we got to Wichita, Kansas, we were supposed to live inside a church. Inside the church. And we had these mattresses that we had to blow them up, like the air mattresses.
Yeah.
So they blew up the air mattresses, and that is how we began the program that had taken me to America.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, from that point, I would like to stop this episode from here, and then we are going to continue with episode 2. Share this video, subscribe, and like the video. So see you again in another episode.